Scorecard is live on your screens. Citi TV, Benjamin Nketiah here. It's heating up as far as the race in the Premier League title chase is concerned. Arsenal Football Club have been left kicking themselves today after their encounter with West Ham. Remember, we've always established on this show that Arsenal will always beat the smaller teams. They've had a good record of also beating the London teams, but West Ham had ideas of their own. Manchester City have a game in hand, and then on the 26th, there's the big clash at the Etihad. So Arsenal have it all to do in that game. There's a lot to go around as far as football this week is concerned. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, I'll introduce my gentleman in the studio, and then we can get today's show cracking. Welcome back. This is Scorecard here on Citi TV. Coach Christopher Nimley is here. See, Coach has a new cut. Oh, my man.
Yeah, Charlie, thanks to the people at Extreme Cuts. Oh, anytime I need to look very good, I just pass by.
Your prophecies are coming to pass, especially on Arsenal.
Charlie.
Man.
Charlie.
Man.
Look, I'm not hearing from them. I've tried reaching my one and only honorable, the one who I believe should be retained as MP, Honorable Sam Jatta George. He's not picking the call.
He's probably busy with government's business. You know.
No, he's not picking the call.
Serious government.
He's not picking the call.
Serious government's business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But look, we'll get there. When we get there, there's so many things I have to say.
We'll do the tactical breakdown of that game here. So, I mean, interesting weekend of football. I'm not sure which result caught your attention.
Oh, it's the Arsenal one. Me too, my cousin and very good friend. He's an Arsenal supporter. We always talk about football.
Yeah.
He said I'm broken.
So, so the meltdown is real.
No, I think the fact that they had put in their heads that going to the Etihad, we are going to lose.
So we needed to get our points built up
everywhere else, and hopefully we can keep up. But I think they're psychological. And for me, I was very surprised by it. We'll go into it, but another 2-goal lead slipping.
I was just about to say that. For me, that's the bigger takeaway. That in a space of 7 days, Arsenal have thrown away 2-0 leads. First against Liverpool and now against West Ham United. So a lot of questions will obviously emerge about their mental fortitude as a team. But let's get today's show going, and let's start off at Stamford Bridge where, boy, Chelsea cannot catch a break. They were up against Brighton and Hove Albion, who themselves are harboring plans of going to Europe. Roberto De Zerbi and the side were determined to leave the bridge with 3 points, and that's exactly what they did. So, Enciso deciding affairs at Stamford Bridge. 3 points to Brighton and Hove Albion. Frank Lampard, after the game, he says that he's only been around for 2 games, but he is not happy with what he's seeing. He says he's let that be known to the players. Coach, let's do a breakdown quickly of the goals that Chelsea conceded. So they went 4 games without scoring prior to this game. Managed to score 1 goal, but also conceded 2. Now, if you look at that first goal especially, ball crossed to the far post, there centre-backs in and around the action, nobody's picking up Welbeck. And he had been on barely, 120 seconds.
Actually, before Coach goes, we also have to point out they've not kept a clean sheet in 7 games now. So they are not scoring and your defense can't stop anything. Where are you going?
Okay, so there's so many things to say. Too many. Because if you look at, like you rightly said, the goals that they conceded, the first goal was sheer movement on the part of Danny Welbeck. If you go back to the goal again, he was in the middle, but when the pass went to the right, he took the striker.
If we can have that sequence again, just as Coach talks to us.
Yeah, so he talked, there was going to be what? So watch this again. This was not a goal. This is the Ferguson shot. So once they picked up the ball in that area that allowed them to build. Okay, maybe this is the Chelsea goal. Of course, a very good movement by Mudryk. He's that sort of player. When he sees the gap, he will definitely attack it. And that is what you want to see in a natural winger who's got decent pace. And for me, I have said that he's going to come good. The timing of his arrival and what he's been through as a player and trying to adjust. And look, if he gets a proper manager like Luis Enrique, Nagelsmann takes him through a proper preseason, I don't see how any of them would not see him as a player to be a very integral member of this Chelsea setup going forward. He's a good player. So this is the goal. So you watch Welbeck. He moves in thinking it will be an outswinger. Look at his movement. Whether you saw the adjustment in his body shape.
Experience.
That's experience.
Yep. So he
was
goes
this
forward
way,
first, and then he
checked,
doubles
and then he
back.
went this way. And that was on the blind side of, is it Badashir, the Chelsea.
But you see, you have to, as they always say, if you are a defender, you can't let the striker see your back.
I think a Thiago Silva or a Koulibaly would have dealt with us.
The striker should never see.
Okay, they are very experienced, and they would have anticipated the move. The moment the Brighton player who was crossing the ball turned onto his left foot, they would have also adjusted themselves in a way to allow them deal with it. But they didn't get it done. Again, on the second goal, there was huge gap in the middle.
Yeah.
Look at the way the guy controlled the ball.
He had acres of space.
Controlled the ball. He had 2 touches before picking his spot. He just put his laces through it. And Ariza Balaha, he's got that more or less a record of not being a decent shot stopper from long range.
In fact, he's been beaten by a lot of long distance shots.
Exactly. You put Mendy in this game, he makes that save all day. You put David De Gea there, he makes that save all day. So teams have realized that when you strike the ball decently from afar, 30 yards, 35, 40 yards on Ariza Balaha, you are most likely to go past him. Now let's look at what is happening at Chelsea. Ben, I don't blame Lampard at all for what is happening. I think Chelsea's problem currently should be put at the very top where Todd Bowley sits. Holistically, he's to be blamed for what is happening.
He was in attendance for this game.
Exactly. But they find themselves in the position where my Manchester United find themselves last season. At this stage of the season, last season, United, all the players had checked out. Mentally, psychologically, they see it as nothing to play for in the league. They are not going to get relegated.
Yeah.
They are not going to get European football, not even the Conference League.
Yep.
So they've checked out. So the Chelsea I saw play Real Madrid in midweek, especially when they even went a man down to the defending champions of the Champions League, played far better than the Chelsea I saw played against Brighton on Saturday. Again, if you look at what Lampard really has to do in terms of decision making, in terms of player selection, whatever he did yesterday, I would have done same, because he knows
that the Champions League is priority.
The players have checked out of the league, and the Champions League is their priority. So would he have started N'Golo Kante, Kovacic, knowing the fact that they have a deficit to over 10 in the Champions League against no mean an opposition, but the best in the business? So I would have done same. But the unfortunate part of it is that if you get players who hardly plays to sit on the bench, and they are all of a sudden being required to get in there and do a job, match fitness, not being used to the situations, are things that may not go a long way to help them. So this Chelsea problem is going to continue to the end of the season. I just hope that if you're a Chelsea fan, you guys should be able to get Todd Bowley and his people. The decision making, I expect them to take a decision as who the next coach will be with about 3 games to the end of the season. That is what Man United did. Everybody realized that United were going to appoint Ten Hag once it was that clear that he was the man for the job. They are still not certain as to whether to go for Nagelsmann or Luis Enrique. This is my take on these 2 coaches. I think that if they bring in Luis Enrique, he's the most experienced, but his method, his identity would need time to establish. Because he's not going to move away from what we saw him do when he was coach of Barcelona and when he was coach of the Spanish national team. It's the tiki-taka way of doing it. And it comes with it will perfect time. Whilst if they decide to go with Nagelsmann, he will try and implement what Ten Hag is doing. The high pressing, the quick point, the movement, the demand. Do it. You have to get it done. For as long as I'm the manager. So you look at the 2 men. Who do you think will suit Chelsea? But the way they do their things at that club, firing coaches now and then, I don't think they'll have the patience for Luis Enrique. But I do think he should be the man they should actually hire, because they've got young players and they need a manager who will walk in there and command respect from everybody. You don't want Thiago Silva looking like Nagelsmann, although he wouldn't do that.
Thiago Silva is older than Nagelsmann.
Yes, he would, because he looks at Nagelsmann and he's older than Nagelsmann.
Yeah.
Koulibaly looks at him. He's almost of the same age, maybe two.
And the
2
truth
years
about
different.
players like that is
Yes.
that they are. Thiago Silva is a Champions League winner.
Yeah, they are Champions League winner. He's seen it
won,
all.
He's won multiple leagues across different
Exactly.
platforms.
So you want him to be coached by a manager
Yeah.
who would demand a bit more from him.
And this is a problem they had with Graham Potter.
Graham Potter,
to be-
exactly.
yeah.
So for me, they should go for Luis Enrique. As to whether he's the one they will pick, because there were reports this weekend saying that Enrique himself was terribly disappointed when they gave the job to Lampard, because he had told them that he was ready to take on Real Madrid in the Champions League, and they didn't offer him the job.
Interesting there. Let's get to Brighton. I mean, their title.
Before we even talk about Brighton, I want
Yeah.
to talk about Kepa and XG and that kind of stuff. We always talk about how some of the goals Chelsea are conceding are low XG. But if the same keeper is consistently conceding from long range, it's the keeper. It really is. I think we have to be very honest that Kepa cannot save these long shots because it's too much of a pattern. Because players take these shots all the time, but most keepers are keeping them out.
Exactly.
Why is it you, Kepa, every time? These
We saw Keylor Navas today, even from very close range. Bruno Fernandes's, it's a routine save.
Yeah. So the long shot thing, and these are the fact that he's letting the lower percentage chance, because he made some very good saves from players in the box. So he can make some good saves. But if you're rather making the good saves on the shots that are a bit harder and letting the shots that you shouldn't let in, the ones from 30, 40 yards, you're putting your team back. Because let's think back to the Aston Villa game.
Yeah.
That shot's from again. Like you can just go through the seasons, like nearly
has
every
a-
other
he
game,
has a whole
these
highlight
long
reel
range shots
of
are
long
just
range shots
flying in.
beating him,
So
yeah.
for me, after a point, there's what the stats say is a good chance. But against Chelsea, if you have a keeper like that, it becomes a good chance. And some of those things, those tiny margins, maybe if Mendy was in goal for some of the games,
No,
Graham
he saves
Potter
that.
does.
He
He
saves
saves
that
some
all
of those
day.
shots, and Graham Potter is still,
Still
in the job. It's like
Big
that.
difference.
They're fine margins. But
Big
on
difference.
Brighton, look, it's about there's a plan. And this is the important thing. Because they bought players, they wanted to play a specific free-flowing attacking style. They looked for a coach who plays free-flowing attacking football. And it's like whoever comes into the team, we are seeing results. Mitoma comes in, he plays well. McAllister plays well. And let's be honest, some players, we didn't, someone like
And
McAllister.
Siso is just getting his
And
chance.
Siso is now getting chance, and he's taking them. He scored, I think, against Wolves or someone in midweek. He scored again here. So you can see that there's quality players. They are looking for the future. And they said, look, we buy young, hungry players. We buy the type of players that people don't take a chance on. Look at this whole transfer saga with Moses Caicedo.
Okay.
It's the same thing. They look for talent. They
They could
buy
afford to say, young man, stay out of the team until the transfer window is over. And it never hurt them in any way. They were still very comfortable
And
going
he's,
about
now
their
he's
business.
back in their team. They are probably, and they are thinking to themselves, look, we can get 100 million for him. Why should we settle for 80? And as someone said, if you are looking for Caicedo for 80 million, you are better off even looking for the person Brighton wants to replace him with, because that player is going to cost 3 million.
6 million, like Caicedo did.
Caicedo,
But you don't know who it is.
yeah, and remember, Man United were offered Caicedo, and they said,
And only Gordon Solskjaer turned him down.
And-
Say he's got
For
Scott
way cheaper than
McTominay.
that.
He said
Yeah,
he got Scott
and
McTominay.
to be fair, if you're a big club, you are thinking to yourself, you want someone who can come and impact the team immediately. I'm not sure. Because Caicedo, it took him some time.
Yeah.
They bought him and it was about 6 months, a year
No, but
before
you
he
see-
really came into the first team to perform.
His profile at the time showed that he had now gained promotion into the national team proper. And he was an integral member of that team throughout their World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah. But
So
even-
they were
even-
decent.
But I also understand Man U, because at 18,
Yeah.
to come into that midfield,
No,
it can be. It
the
can be.
scouts of Man U and Solskjaer.
Yeah.
Look, if it was Ten Hag and his current scouting team, they wouldn't have turned down that opportunity.
Well, there's always that. But there's also, like I said, the politics of bringing a youngster from South America knows
And I
nothing
think
about
also
the
the,
European
maybe
game.
the pressure of playing for Man U, it can't be discounted.
Clearly, he wouldn't have been brought in to walk straight into the team.
Yeah.
I think Coach, that's the thing. They were looking for someone they could play immediately. I think
So
that
now
was.
they are ready. They are going after him, ready to pay 60, 70 million
Just
pounds.
even talk me through the goal scoring of Brighton. Always a problem that we highlighted. Now a thing of the past for them. And that's interesting because Trossard started the season as their top scorer. He moved on to Arsenal, and Welbeck is scoring, and Siso is scoring.
Ferguson
They're getting
is
goals
scoring.
from Dan
Ferguson.
Ferguson. Like, it's happening
No,
all
because
around.
look, another thing about Brighton people don't talk about, because they have a lot of tall guys. The set pieces are also their threats are set pieces.
Yeah.
A big threat are set pieces. It's very underrated part of their game. So there's the set piece.
They scored from it last week.
And they are very direct. So they are creating look at if you have someone like Mitoma just running and causing chaos. He's always putting the fullbacks on toast. The fullbacks always. So if you have someone like that getting into the box and putting the ball there, it makes a difference. Then their midfielders can shoot.
Look,
McAllister, he can shoot. Casado, he can shoot. So the team is built in such a way that everyone can contribute. It's very great to watch. But the unfortunate thing is when you see a team like this, you know that there's a time limit. You know that the big clubs are circling. You know McAllister, he played well at the World Cup. Ferguson, Caicedo, Mitoma.
It has to do with the wage bill. These boys will want good money.
Yeah.
So once they've showcased themselves, when the big guys come coming.
I'm curious to see how many of their players eventually leave this.
They probably will let, I feel like maximum 2. Because I think Brighton are also thinking about how to stay competitive.
Look, I think all things being equal, they will lose Caicedo.
Yeah.
They will lose McAllister. Yeah. And even the boy from Japan, if somebody can show good money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they will let...
At least 2 or 3 of them.
I think the max is 2. I think if you look at Brighton...
I think 3.
I think...
They're getting good money for at least 2 of them.
Yeah, that's what I think, because if you look at the Premier League now, teams are making so much money. You are competing with top European teams for targets in the market. You can sell 1 or 2 and you'll be fine. But I think if you sell 3, you lose too much. Not knowing that you are now bringing the replacement to come in and that kind of stuff.
I'm curious to see how many of them
I feel like it will be 2 max because they are thinking to themselves, we also want to be competitive.
Especially if they do happen to get into Europe.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. It's about the wage bill. You give McAllister 35,000.
No, coach is right. Because Caicedo only signed...
And Man United, how much was Caicedo being
Caicedo only started his 15,000. No, he was on 3,000 last season. I think at the beginning of this season, he was bumped up to 15.
Then he's renewed the contract. And I'm sure there's a clause in that contract that says whoever pays this amount of money, you are free to go.
Yeah.
But he's not taking 50,000 there. I doubt whether he'll be taking even 40,000.
Because the 15 was at the beginning of this season.
Were to come and say, look, we give you 120 every week. He goes.
And coach is right. That's really the main reason the players want to leave. Because sometimes they even can see that the team they are going to is not playing as well. They might play less. But at the end of the day, it's a job.
The money is great. Yeah. Somebody's giving me 10 times what I'm earning. I'll take it. Let's take our first break here on the show. When we come back, we have a lot more highlights for you. Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool all in the mix. Stay with us here on Scorecard. Now, Manchester City, they delivered a masterclass in midweek against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. They decided to follow it up with another one in the Premier League just to show Arsenal how much of, their hunger is still burning for this particular title. Now, they are 10 wins on the bounce in all competitions. So they are just about heating up at the right time of the season. And Leicester City were another victim over the weekend. Let's check out the highlights of that game. Man City taking on Leicester. 3-1 is how that game ended. So Kelechi just getting a consolation goal against his former team. Erling Haaland has equaled Mohamed Salah's record, 32 Premier League goals in a 38-game season. So the record is about to fall.
With 8 more games to play.
It's about to fall.
And the all-time record is 34, shared by Alan Shearer and Deco.
So I think it will go.
Even that will soon fall.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think we'll look. Man City. Over the few years under Pep Guardiola, they've shown that when the league gets to this stage, they normally will wrap up a 17-18 unbeaten run.
Yep, they did it last season.
The season
they are
before,
doing it again this season.
When they were with Liverpool neck to neck twice, they had to do something like that. And for me, it is the mentality of the manager. He's a serial winner. It's so unfortunate that he's not been able to replicate that in the Champions League. At times, that is a knockout competition that most likely you need a bit of luck. For example, last season, they should have knocked out Real Madrid in that pair. What we saw over 2 legs, the chances they created, they were the team that deserved to go through. But a bit of luck did not shine on their side. But they clearly understand where they are. The manager has told the whole world that they need to win every game to win the league.
Yep.
And you can clearly see the clear intent. That is the beauty of it. Tactically, he's gotten it spot on. And the moment the game starts, he's on his feet. And if you are John Stones, if you are De Bruyne, Grealish, and you see Pep Guardiola standing there, the demands, it's so high that there's no need or there's no room for any negotiation. You go out there and you perform. And look at the manner in which they go about it. The pressing game, the passing game, the technical ability of the players as at when they need to show it.
I just want you to talk us through the John Stones tactical bit he's pulled in the past couple of games.
It's been so beautiful. It's been beautiful that none of us, nobody, not even Gary Southgate, could see that John Stone is that capable of playing in midfield. And the coaching given to him is very simple. Watch him. When he's in midfield, he's not hitting those 60 yards, 70 yards, 50 yards long balls to the wingers. They've told him that is not your speciality. So when you win it, Rodri and De Bruyne are always within range. 10, 15, maximum 20 yards. Give it to them. They will do the distribution at the higher level. And again, the composure he'd shown under pressure is amazing in Nketiah. For a player who's been brought up as a centre-back. We all saw that when John Stones was at Everton, he looks this ball-playing centre-back. So no shocking, when Pep came, he went for him. There were times in this Man City team where he couldn't cement his position as one of the unsung or one of the untouchables. But this season, he's walked into midfield and he's been brilliant. His all-round play, his movement, when he needs to go square, when he needs to go back just to hold on to possession.
And you saw in that game, he even found space to go forward, to score a left-footed volley.
And even if you looked at him against Bayern Munich, the game I thought he and Rodri completely ran the show. Although, in terms of dominating possession, Bayern Munich in that second half, Kimmich and then the other ball, Goretzka, they were brilliant. But the defensive cover of the two Man City holding midfielders, Rodri and John Stones, practically made it virtually impossible. So most of Bayern Munich opportunity were strikes from long range that Leroy Sané took. Again, if you look at John Stones, the goal he scored yesterday sums up the confidence in the player. And it comes back to the manager. It's Pep Guardiola coaching you. I'm told that one of the things they use to lure players into their fold is to say, look, don't you want to be coached by Pep Guardiola? And if you're a player and look at the way he goes about his business, the team he's built over the years, the Barcelona team, the team at Bayern Munich, now at Man City, if you want to improve your game, this is a manager who understands how to coach a player. Some managers will be all about their system, all about their philosophy, their identity. But Pep, if you've seen Man City train, he's involved in the training. Even the outstanding Alex Ferguson hardly took part in any. Those days it was Carlos Queiroz, and he would stand afar and watch whatever is going on. But Pep is there. He's even teaching you how to control
he can still do stuff.
Because during his playing days, he was a fantastic midfielder. And he's coaching the players. I was told again that when Jack Grealish came to Manchester United, when the pass is given to him, he was normally receiving the pass outside of the foot. He said, no, you don't do that.
It's a signature Grealish thing. He's been doing it forever in his career.
You can do that.
Apparently, Pep said that.
That is wrong.
Part of the reason it probably was even taking him long to get into the first teams, that Pep said that touch
was a wrong time. Waste his time. It wastes time. He now taught him how to control the ball and then get your acceleration.
It's more like they said that if you don't stop, you won't play.
That is it. So look,
because he's very specific about even some of these little things, like just a tiny discipline. Like, look, that's the
fact. Your body
shape.
I've seen him say that your body alignment alone should allow you to play in a certain way. That is the level of the manager. And so for John Stones, he can only grow and become better and better in that role. And I'm for sure that in recent time, maybe even in the England national team, because if you look at what he's doing, and you're going to be putting this boy, the one they bought from Leeds United, Calvin Phillips, alongside Declan Rice. If England can get another centre-back, I think it will be prudent to push John Stones
into midfield
so that he shields them alongside Declan Rice and give the Bellingham boy the box-to-box responsibility.
Well, Man City doing their thing. I'm sure they are gearing up for that game against Arsenal at the Etihad. They look forward to these big games. But let's get to another team that is still struggling this season, Tottenham Hotspur. They were up against AFC Bournemouth. At a point, they thought they had rescued something from the game. Bournemouth had ideas of their own, won it right at the death. All kinds of drama in that game. Enjoy the highlights. What a beautiful finish to pick up all 3 points. AFC Bournemouth never stopped believing, even after Tottenham equalized 90th minute. Listen, that's some of the biggest mental fortitude I've seen from a lower tier side. And it's as if they want to take their destiny into their own hands. They don't want to get relegated. Remember, they have new owners as well. There's a good chance that they might also invest more money from what we've seen. So, huge result for them.
Yeah, and the man who won it was one of their January investments, Utara. They bought him from Lorient, I believe. I think the owner owns both Bournemouth and Lorient, if I can remember correctly. And look, that I have to say, I think Bournemouth have the worst squad player for playing the Premier League. No sugarcoating it. But the fact they are kind of pulled themselves out of the relegation battle in a sense, they are a bit above. And they look relatively safe compared to the other teams around. And that's impressive in itself because you would think they will be where Southampton now. You would think that they lack. And remember, that is why Scott Parker left after the 9-0. He thought that there wasn't enough investment. The team wasn't going anywhere. But look at how Gary O'Neill has turned around. We have to be honest. He's been one of the, pound for pound, he's one of the better managers in the league because what he's working with, the resources are not there compared to others.
Solanke is even 10 up. Even Dominic Solanke is 10
and Solanke has had a very good season in the Championship. He struggled a bit, but I think this is probably one of his best games. He assisted both goals. He scored one himself. Brilliant performance. But again, we have to also talk about Tottenham Hotspur. Another flat performance. They didn't deliver. And we were all thinking it was Conte. Conte said it was the players. They didn't show enough fight. I think part of it is to do with his coaching. I think to a certain extent, the players have not done enough. I think
he cannot absorb himself.
Yeah, I think part of it is the coaching. I think he was a bit too passive with his coaching in the sense that they didn't attack enough. They came to so many games, they sat back, and we saw this phenomenon because Spurs weren't scoring in the first half. Most of their goals were coming in the second half. They were starting slow all the time. But speaking about Bournemouth in the relegation battle, let me go back there. You look at the relegation battle now. It looks like, for me, I think it's Southampton, Everton, and Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest and Southampton are currently in the relegation.
You mentioned Leicester City.
I think they have easy games coming up.
No, I think no matter how easy their games are,
they've not been convincing enough to trust.
Defensively, they've been poor after Southampton. If you play against Leicester, you know you'll be given chances upon chances to score against them. I just want to say something small about Spurs. Look, Antonio Conte is gone. He's gone. I think these players are so weak mentally that even when they are playing against a team that they know they are better than, player for player wise, Bournemouth is in the Solanke. You've got Harry Kane. You've got Son Heung-min. You've got Kulusevski. You've got Højbjerg. These are players who on their day can stand up against quality opposition. You are the home team. Where is your belief? Where is your dominant? You want to play Champions League football next season. You take the lead. You throw it away. Bournemouth scored. You came back. Look at that goal. Look at that last goal. Where was the defense of Spurs? Simply a manner of a throw-in. Solanke in the middle of or in between two Spurs players. The boy from Barcelona. What's the defender? Longley. Longley, you should be just pulling Solanke because you can see his back. Just get him to feel a bit more of your body. Let him feel the sensation through his bones. And then your defensive partner picks the ball up. How on earth did they allow Solanke to win the ball in between the two of them, turn, and then pick the pass?
And then Utara
just drew, is it the right back, who was again very terrible. He gave the goal away for the first.
Pedro Porro.
Porro. Where did they buy him from? Sporting
Lisbon.
No, he's been absolutely.
He's on loan, actually.
Do you remember I said this when they were buying Porro, that Poro had been at Man City.
Yes.
And they didn't keep him. And for me, that was a slight red flag.
That was a red flag.
I'm sure he's a good player, but there's a reason Man City felt that.
He's
and
Spanish.
Sporting are demanding a lot of money from Tottenham for him.
I think the money is mandatory. They will sign him. It's just
they'll pay the money.
It's more so for financial purposes.
You think Pep Guardiola will let go of a Spanish player if he's that good? He wouldn't do that. So at the end of the day, Spurs now, they have the last chance to fight for top 4. And it's coming this weekend when they play against Newcastle. They are again playing at home against Newcastle, a team that they are challenging, fighting for top 4 with. So I think, look, it is going to be very, very dicey for them. I think the players themselves need some form of lift. I want them to. I don't want United to go and spend the money on Harry Kane. I'm saying it. So I want them to do well so that he will see the need to stay there.
Let me read a few messages that have been coming in. This one is from St. Godfred from Seshi Kwasari Chrome. I think that's what it is. It says, good evening, Ben. You're doing a good job. Chelsea lost yesterday against Brighton and Hove Albion, but they still hope they will come back against Real Madrid. Destiny will tell. Greetings to coach. This one here says, good evening, Ben, and your unbiased pundits. I don't know what that means. He says, an impressive performance from Eric Ten Hag and his lads at the City ground this afternoon. Bring it on, Seville. Manaman says so from Doma Ahinkro. And this one is from Al Hassan, a.k.a. Humble Lion from Kaswa. Says, look, no Rashford, no Shaw, no Martinez, no Varane, yet still no problem. Go, Man United. My boys are good. Greetings to you all. Okay. Do keep your messages coming. Let's get to that game.
Ben, I just want to talk about what I was saying about Leicester, and I'm comparing them to Everton. Now, that's the reason.
Just a quick one before.
Because if you look at Everton's fixtures, I think they have about 8 left. I think about 6 are against top half, team challenging for Europe, Man City, that kind of stuff. And I look at Leicester's games, Wolves, Everton
Wolves
themselves.
are picking up form at just
but
the right
you see,
time.
they are playing against teams around the relegation
They don't even win those.
But you see, that's why I said based on the fixtures. I just feel like
On paper.
their fixtures are very winnable.
But
if you look at Everton, I don't see where Everton are getting the points in those
Everton
games.
themselves are a traditional team. When a traditional team finds himself in such position, having these big games,
They'll respond.
They will respond.
And Everton have gone through a rough patch in the last 2 games or so.
I know there's that aspect, but I think
They are missing Decore. After the red card, that midfield combo of him and then Ghana Gay and then Onana has been disturbed a bit.
And the truth is, because Leicester and Everton are playing, I think in 2 games, so Leicester will play Wolves, and then the next game is Leicester-Everton.
Yes.
I think if Everton beats Leicester in that game,
which
I think that will kill Leicester, because I think you are playing a lot of teams around you.
Yeah.
If you are playing against that Everton team and you can't get a result, I think it will kill the spirit.
It has to do with the defensive shape of the 2 teams. I think defensively, Everton look better. Far, far better.
Yeah.
Because Leicester, whether it is Soyuncu, Fries,
Amate,
Suta, name them.
But you see, I think when we saw the Leicester game against Man City, I think they're the first team to have a higher XG than Man City in a game. They had a very good second half.
And I think have buried those chances.
And for me, that in a relegation battle, you are going to concede. But I think the firepower they have compared to the teams around them might be what might take them over
They knew they were playing against Man City. So there was that defensive organization. Then when they are playing against teams they expect to be more then they'll go and open. Then they'll just go and score.
Well, Dean Smith might change that. But I'm just looking at it like the Everton fixture. And if we talk about Nottingham Forest fixture list, you even laugh. They are playing Arsenal, City. Look, they are gone. I think if you look at their fixture list,
believe that
4 points max.
I can't believe they also invested all that money.
But you see,
and
they had a lot of players going. I think they lost about 15, 16 players.
When they were in the championship, they had loaned 15 players to get them to qualify.
Remember, when they sacked Chris Hughton, they were in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
So they weren't even thinking about promotion. It's just that the results were just coming. They ended up in the promotion, and they won.
Down, they had to bolster the team.
Yeah, and they lost players on free transfers. So they lost about, let's say, a 25, 23-man squad. They lost about 15 14 players. So
then they had to make up the numbers.
So I won't say that it's but anyway, they are going down.
But they bought big players, big reputation players.
Yeah, but
lots of money
they
as well.
They weren't able to secure it early, and like I said, the fixture list now. When you have to compare who's playing who. If you have to play Arsenal and City at this point in a relegation fight, that's not fun.
Big trouble for them. Let's get to that game between West Ham United and Arsenal. Very highly emotional encounter, especially if you're a Ghana. Took the lead. Looked like after 10 minutes, the game was wrapped up. And then West Ham coming back in, Saka missing a penalty. Lots of drama in this particular game. Let's get to the highlights. So Jarrod Bowen with an absolutely brilliant finish to break Arsenal hearts there. Now the countdown begins to that game against Manchester City. Coach, very, very poor defending there for the goals that were conceded. First of all, that penalty, Partey making a mistake there, the ball eventually getting into the box, and then very bad penalty to concede.
Yeah, I think Partey was at fault for not being sensible in maintaining possession. I think what he should have done was to give the ball back to whoever gave it to him, but to try and then lift it and not lift it that high enough. He was at fault. But even that, I think the Magalhaes tackle was a bit too rash. He panicked.
That's been him all season.
If it was the other defender, Saliba, he wouldn't have dived into the tackle like he did. All said and done, Arsenal conceded 2-1, having been brilliant throughout until then. Now, it went into that second half. The next goal was so very important. Arsenal got a penalty very early in that half.
It was about 50,
I think with the
51st or 52nd minute.
After like 6-7 minutes, they got a penalty. And then Saka, who's been so brilliant from the sport kit this season, blazed it. Now, once he missed it, that was where...
You think mentally their spirits dipped?
They just dipped. And that was where I was looking at the manager, Mikel Arteta. Immediately that penalty got missed, he should have gotten everybody to be ready. Because that was a perfect lift for West Ham to come out
get back into the
game. And then if you look at the manner in which West Ham scored that second goal, that was typical David Moyes' team. That is what they do. Long throw, Baloo back into your 8.
Yeah.
Where was the leadership? And again, Gabriel here should be clearly highlighted. You see, what I don't like is actually players who don't take up responsibility. If Saliba was around, Arsenal, in my view, wouldn't have considered that second goal.
I think they would have held on to the lead against Liverpool.
Exactly. And he would have more or less commanded everybody to be a bit more relaxed and a bit more composed. Having said that, they considered the goal with about 30-something minutes left to be played.
They created nothing.
And they created nothing after. That was when I was like, whoa.
It took Odegaard out of the game, which
you don't substitute. No. No matter
I thought that was a strange decision.
No matter how bad Thomas Partey was today on that pitch, when you needed to go and chase the game, I wouldn't have substituted him.
I think also the yellow card, remember?
No, but you see,
he was maybe afraid that
he was on the card
because he was having a bad game, likely to be frustrated.
This is not too much of a bad game. Just call him. He's your main man.
Talking
when he plays, the team plays. Call him and demand a bit more from him going forward. Call Saka. And even when you needed to do that tactical switch, I was surprised when he pulled out the Brazilian boy. Gabriel Jesus, and then Odegaard. I was like, asking myself, okay,
what's exactly going on?
I would have gone two top. I would have gone typical 4-4-2 in Nketiah and the Brazilian boy, Gabriel Jesus. And more or less, Saka after the penalty, after the penalty, was completely mentally non-existent, because you could clearly see him when he missed the ball. See, when you do this as a defender, as a player, looking at what is at stake, that is emotionally very draining already. And he was gone. So maybe you give him the next 10, 15 minutes. If it's not showing signs of being his usual self, you pull him out. You throw in Trossard in there and get them to be a bit more dominating. Now you pull out Partey and you bring in Jorginho, who wouldn't up the tempo, who would just slow the tempo and go square. Go watch all his passes. None of them went vertical. They were all horizontal square passes, hoping that the right back or left back will go and then pull in the cross. West Ham will defend crosses all day.
Yeah.
That's what they considered from the first goal because they thought it would have
been Zuma in the air today.
Yes.
Everything that came.
He had them. So
I saw some leap he leaped. I was thinking
but Zuma is very athletic.
Yes.
He's an
so
athlete.
Arteta himself should have realized he needed the intricate players, those players who see in between the channels.
You think Arteta lost Arsenal this game?
I think he contributed to some extent because having lost the 2-0 lead, what he should have done was to give them an opportunity.
Yeah.
Look, I would have put my last password that in 30, 32, 33 minutes, they would have carved at least 2 or 3 chances for them to put away. But rather, they didn't.
Yeah.
And that was shocking to me for a team that wants to win the league. Or maybe because a similar thing had happened 7 days earlier, they would have told them, so come on, not again. But the moment they say not again, that is where, as a manager, you need to up. This is a very inexperienced team. I've always been saying this here. And I've always said that they should avoid this current situation because if they don't, City will pip them to the title because of how inexperienced they are. Let me just make my last point. They should acknowledge that they are in the lead. They are in the lead.
Still a 4-point lead. City still have a game in hand.
Still a 4-point lead. City will win that game in hand and it will be a 1-point lead. Of the 3 possible results, they can go to the Etihad
and take 2
and play for 2. They go there having one thing in mind. We shouldn't get beat. We shouldn't lose this.
Yeah.
They can afford to draw. They can afford to win. So mentally, it is not up to the backroom staff to get the experienced players of this Arsenal team. When I say experienced, I'm referring to Xhaka. I'm referring to Thomas Partey because he's won the league in Spain with Atletico Madrid before.
Yeah.
He understands this sort of competition. You look at your Odegaard, you look at your Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko.
Yep.
Because I listened to Jesus today, he said, look, it's not easy competing with those guys. I came from there.
Yeah.
I know what they're capable of doing. But this is football. The moment he said this is football, I said, okay, so to some extent, he understands that there is a chance.
Yeah.
So you have to acknowledge, but to all the Arsenal supporters watching the show, you guys have gone off social media. You should try and encourage your players.
Yep.
Don't go mute.
Yep.
Because acknowledge the fact that you are still in the lead. If you go there with 1 point and you leave there with 1 point, stay in the lead, you are in the lead. So don't just throw in the towel that they are behaving as if, oh man, we are going to get beat at the Etihad. We've blown it. How many games to go?
I think the psychological spectre of Man City, I think after seeing what they did to Liverpool year after year,
see what got down to Bayern Munich in midweek.
I think there's just this cycle because I understand as someone I say a Liverpool fan say I've been in this place so many times before and I know how this story is.
You're just breathing down your neck.
You have one game you on paper you should win. You just don't win it.
Draw. And you see, Arsenal didn't dream that they were going to pick up 2 points out of 6 in 7 days. That's what happened to them. Drop
6, 2 out of 6, so they dropped 4.
And for me,
look, like I'm saying, Ngetia, you cannot fix what has happened.
Just leave
in
it
football,
behind.
I listened to Jose. He said, I can't win the match I've lost.
Yeah.
Or I cannot win the match I've just drawn.
Yeah.
I can win the next match ahead of me.
So look ahead of
So look ahead and then get prepared.
I'll come back to you. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll talk more West Ham, Arsenal. We have the United Nottingham Forest game as well. And then we'll spread our wings to other leagues. And so stay with us here on Scorecard. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. Let's just wrap up on that Arsenal-West Ham conversation. So your thoughts on, Arsenal, you've always believed that these are games they see through, but not this time.
When you watch the first 10 minutes of the game, you thought it was business as usual. 2 quick goals.
Yeah.
They are cruising. Then I believe the penalty happened before the first goal they conceded was before halftime. So we went into half, we were doing the game on radio, and I said, look, it's good. They've played well in the first half of the first half. They've let things get out of hand that West Ham have a way back. But the next goal is key. If they don't get that next goal, the match is in danger. And that's the thing. because leading 2-0 is fine, but when it becomes 2-1, the team has belief. The other team is thinking, okay, we can get back in this. There's a draw that we can get from this game. And when they got the penalty, I thought that was it. Because Saka has been perfect this season. So I thought that they would get that goal and they would deflate West Ham. Because you score that goal, West Ham are deflated. Exactly. Because the chase they are chasing is they are back to square one. So I think themselves, what was the point? And when they missed, I think West Ham thought, today is our day. Because the guy has not missed a penalty all season. And he misses today. Today is our day. And they got their goal. So it's just, they had enough to win their game. I don't think it was a situation where they were outplayed. You saw a team that was lucky to escape with a draw. No. This is not like the Liverpool game where they should have lost based on the second half they played, the totality of the game. This is a game they should have won. It will hurt, but like Coach said, it's still in their hands. I know it's difficult to hear because you know you are going to the Etihad. It's a very difficult game. We get it. We are not saying that they are going there and they should win. We're not going there and saying that anything less than 3-0 is poor. But we are saying that once it's in your hands,
go there and avoid defeat.
Go there and do your best. If you get a draw, you are in a good position. If you win, it's an even better position. So for me, I don't think the title race is over. I think to say the title race is over is very premature. I think we'll know where we are in the title race after April 26th.
Hugely disrespectful.
Manchester City perhaps might even drop a few points themselves.
Yeah, there's no guarantee. Exactly, there's no guarantee. I know they are picking up.
They are in 3 competitions.
And that's part of the problem. Because they are in 3 competitions, there are certain weeks now they will have to play midweek, weekend. And if you think about it, they have a potential semi-final against Real Madrid.
Next week, in midweek, they'll play Bayern Munich. They'll play the FA Cup.
Then they'll come and play midweek. League. And we are assuming they'll get past Bayern Munich. So it looks like you're now playing a 2-legged tie versus Real Madrid. And you are thinking about the same stage last season. These guys took us out where we should have taken them out. It's a psychological, it's a big mental block they also have to overcome in the Champions League as well. So their focus is not 100% on the league. And I think that one result that they will slip up or they will draw, that they are a bit tired, they might have to rest Haaland. Haaland could even get injured. Let's hope he doesn't, because I want to see him score 40, 45 goals in the league. I'm not saying...
There's a lot that could happen.
There's so much that could happen. And I think playing in one competition, there's that focus. You have 1 week to prepare for your games. So when you do what you have to do on the weekend, next weekend you can spend the whole week getting ready, mentally preparing yourself to go again. As they always say, every game now is a final. You have to play like a final.
Every game is a final indeed. Let's get to Nottingham Forest. They were up against United. Nottingham Forest trying to survive the league after investing a lot of money into their team. United trying to seal their top 4 slots were up away from home. Let's check out the highlights of that one. So Anthony showing some of the sauce that had United knocking on the doors of Ajax until it eventually broke down. Let me ask Coach on Anthony specifically. I mean, this is a game United were expected to win. I mean, with or without your key players. But for Anthony, this was a standout game for him. Scored, assisted, that run, goes inside, reverse pass. Is that what he should be doing more of? I mean, or from your standpoint, what should he add a lot more to his game after we've seen him almost complete the season?
I think when he came, he had a blistering start. 3-3.
Yeah.
Then he went down. But because he's been coached by a manager who knows him very well, the manager, press conference after press conference, kept saying that he will come good because he's got that technical ability to come good. In recent times, he got hurt. He came back. He did so well against Barcelona in that Europa Cup where he scored that fantastic goal. His performances of late has been very much on the up. His all-round game, not him going past players, but defensively, he's been super. He's now playing for the team. What is now left is for him to replicate what he did today on a weekly basis. Is it within him? I don't have any doubt whatsoever that Anthony is going to come good. Because this is very fair season. In all competitions as a winger, he has 2 assists and then 8 or 9 goals.
Yeah, it's about 9 goals.
9 goals.
Yeah.
And with some few more games to play.
I think it's 3 assists.
Yeah, okay. 3 assists.
But 2 in the league.
2 in the league.
Yeah.
He's going to come good. Especially now that Marcus Rashford, who scoring all the goals, is not in there. Everybody will have to contribute. This result was never in doubt, because if you are a Man United and you want to play Champions League football, you should be going to a relegated threatened Nottingham Forest and beat them. Don't forget, this Nottingham Forest team beat Liverpool here, beat Chelsea here, drew with Man City at this same ground. So before the game, it was a bit dicey, but hey, the approach
there was
by Ten Hag.
3 first-choice defenders missing out.
And there was 3 first. There's no Varane. The Butcher,
Martinez,
he's out for the season. Shaw is still not back yet. So more or less a completely new back for all. A back four that had the back 3 of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's era playing today. But hey, they did so well. And I think the real test for this current back 4 will be in Sevilla on Thursday. If they can go past that and qualify, I think United will definitely win another silverware and then qualify for Champions League football. And with Sheikh Atani almost done in the 3rd round of bid, it will get even more beautiful.
Just snap thoughts on that game, 2-0. Forest have... I don't think they were in your initial list to go, teams to go down.
I think they were doing very well at home. They were getting results. But now, I don't think they've won a match.
They've had to come out to back Steve Cooper.
Yeah, I don't think they've won a match since somewhere in February. That's a problem. I think their form has kind of dipped. And the home points they were getting, they are not getting anymore. And their away points, they will not get. Because the whole season, they've not been getting. So when I look at these 2 things, and Opta have a kind of fixture difficulty rating they've done, their fixtures are the hardest by far. Like I said, they are playing a lot of teams who are challenging for Europe and that kind of stuff. That's not the type of teams you want to be playing at this season. I think they played City twice, but I think maybe they have to play Newcastle.
They have to play Brighton.
I think they now have to go to Anfield, that kind of stuff. Like there's those type of games that I know they are definitely play Arsenal for sure. Arsenal are going to the City ground for sure. So you look at these type of games, and you just think to yourself, at this stage of the season, if they were, let's say, where Wolves or Crystal Palace are, and they have to play these games, you can say that, okay, even if they don't pick up too many points, that's fine. But you are 18th. Where they are, they need to win games to get out. And then you look at their goal difference. They don't have a good goal difference. At all. So it means you can't even afford to finish level with some. Because even if they finish level with Everton, it's very likely Everton will stay up between the two of them because of goal difference. So it means you need to win games. And when I look at that fixture list, there's no wins, there's heavy defeats. So the goal difference is even going to suffer more. So when you look at all of that, it's not looking good. And look, they've sacked 2 sporting directors this season. They've gone with the other approach. They don't sack the manager. They are sacking the person who's buying the players. So the person who did the summer window, they sacked him. The person who did January, they've also sacked him. And now they are looking for another sporting director. I heard they are getting the old Southampton sporting director, I believe. That's who they are looking at. So. But yeah, it's just very poor. But I just want to circle back to Anthony. I've personally not been too impressed with him. That's my personal opinion. I think the price tag doesn't help. He didn't set his own price tag. I'll be fair to him. But I think I expected more from him. I don't think he's created enough for me. I think he tends to shoot too much. He's a bit too focused on cutting in and shooting. We saw what he can do when he cuts in and passes, because that was a brilliant pass to Dalot. But he doesn't do that enough for me. Maybe there's not enough runners in the team, so he doesn't have the option to do that. But I don't feel like he creates enough from the wing. I think he's too limited to trying to cut inside and shoot, and then maybe passing to another player. I think he's not trying to split the defense with his passing. If he does that a bit more, I think I'd be a bit more high on him. I mean, and coach is right. It is his first season. I'll give him that grace. He's a young player.
He's almost hitting double digits in goals.
Yeah, there's a lot to come from him. But like I said, outside the cutting in and shooting, which he does quite a lot, there's not enough for me. He needs to do a bit more of the passing like we saw today. And I think if he adds that to his game, he'll be more useful to the team. And I think people will also kind of see that, okay, he can do more. Because for me, the cutting and shooting all the time, because it doesn't work all the time. It's very difficult when you're doing it with defenders in front of you and that kind of stuff. So there's things he can work on his game. But like coach said, it's a very early in his time at Man U. This is a player who's in his early 20s you bought for 100 million. You expect him to stay 5-6 years minimum based on what they paid for him. So there's a lot to come from here.
Well, let's get to the Serie A. Let's check out some games. Inter Milan were shocked by Monza this week. 1-0 was how they lost that game. And then there was Bologna also putting the brakes on AC Milan. So AC Milan blowing hot and cold. Yeah. Well, fair enough. They still drew the game. Let's get to the highlights of those games. back-to-back, and then we'll come in studio and discuss. So shock defeat for Inter Milan. AC Milan, after wholesale changes, also held to a draw. Just thoughts on that one? Milan clearly having an eye on that Napoli second.
Oh, clearly. They are not joking around. And even Napoli made a lot of changes. I think aside the suspended players, that's Kim and Zambo Anguissa, they also made about 7 changes to their first team. So they also drew 0-0. So I think both teams are putting everything on the line for Tuesday. But looking at Inter and Milan, I think they are playing a very dangerous game because now Lazio and Roma are above them. Roma won this evening to climb above them. So Lazio are second, Roma are third. AC Milan are fourth and Inter are fifth. They are playing a very dangerous game because on the 19th of April, Juventus' case will be decided and that 15 points could be reinstated.
If it's over 10?
If maybe let's say, okay, it's not 15, we are doing 6, and Juventus get +9. Now you all drop out of the top 4. So I think they should, likely because they will know on April 19th where they stand in terms of points, it will be clear. But I think they are slipping up too much. I know the Champions League is still there to play for, and I expect to see Inter and AC Milan playing each other in the semi-final. That's coming up. But I think neither of them is going to win it. I believe even they get to the final, considering they are going to probably be facing Citi or Real Madrid. I know a final is a final. Anyone can win it. But the truth is, the chance of them beating Citi or Real Madrid are very low. So that focus, it might cost them. And the truth is, if both teams don't make top 4, it's going to have a significant impact, especially on Inter Milan, because of the lack of financial inputs from the owners, the massive debt and that kind of stuff. They are even losing.
They need to make Europe.
And look, you are losing your best defender in Martin Skriniar for free. You need to bring someone in. You have Lukaku on loan. It's not working out. Who are you going to buy? There's a lot of questions for it. So Inter need the Champions League a lot, and so do AC Milan, because they are trying to build on this young squad. They won the league, do something. So both teams, I think, their priorities are in the wrong place, in my opinion. Dangerous
games for the two Milan clubs. Let's get to 2 different leagues. First of all, we'll check out Borussia Dortmund. They slipped up again in their hopes to win a Bundesliga title. 3-3 is how they drew their game. And then also, there was another game involving Real Madrid Football Club. They were up against Cadiz, so Real Madrid keeping their title hopes alive. Let's check out back-to-back highlights of those games. So Borussia Dortmund, they're slipping up against Stuttgart. Real Madrid also beating Cadiz there. Could just snap thoughts on those two games.
On the part of Dortmund, Bayern Munich had played earlier on in the day, and they had drawn 1-1 with Hoffenheim at home. So Dortmund needed to actually win this. Dortmund needed to win this to take over at the top. And then they went and did more or less, for the neutral, this was very entertaining. But if you are a true Dortmund fan, you cannot be happy with the manner in which they keep letting lead slip away from them. And what made this even more serious was the fact that the opposition had been shown a red card. And then you threw away a 2-goal lead. I mean, it has to do with the coaching. Why were they stretching it? Is it because of the numerical advantage? You should understand defensively what your team is capable of doing and be a bit mean. Just keep ball. You have the numbers. Keep ball, keep goal. And then manage the game, control the game, and then see it out. Okay? But look, it was very poor. I think it was a massive 2 points dropped. And maybe this, in my view, is the turning point. Bayern Munich win the league all day.
Let's talk about something that happened or has happened the last week or so. Our under-16 team have been involved in an under-16 tournament, beat the likes of Spain, beat the likes of Serbia. Just quick thoughts on that particular competition. It's a select side.
No Ghanaian should be happy about the performance about this team. No Ghanaian. If you are a true Ghanaian like myself who understands football, who knows the importance of juvenile football, you should not rejoice about this. Now, this is what happened. The Serbian FA wrote to our FA that they have this mini tournament meant for under 16 because the European version, I think, will be played somewhere in June, July.
Probably.
So they are looking for countries to more or less prepare their team to go and play. So they did not only invite Ghana, they invited Spain and I think one other country.
Switzerland.
So go in and play. We've always been told in this country that there's always a standby under 15 national team. Something that I have questioned because I maintain for somebody who is into coast football, the selection of juvenile players into that under 15 team is not fair. It's very biased. Only those people at the Ghana Football Association understand how they go about selecting players into the under 15 national team, they so-called. Now, if you've been written to bring your under 16, or more or less what we call our starlets, if you don't have a current under 17 team ready to go and partake, who should you take? You should go with under 15s. If you understand football, you should go with under 15. You don't go and take players touted to be under 17 players, but 7 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them failed the MRI test. The MRI test for the last edition. And then you take old boys, old men, to go and be competing with 16-year-old. And then they are beating them 4-1. They are beating them 3-2. Even that, you are struggling through under 16 from Spain. They did that for one reason, to go and sell players. That is what they do. And look, it's again an indictment to the chairman of juvenile football in this country. Do you know who that is?
The FA president?
That is Ket Okreku himself, the FA president. Because if you say you are the president or the chairman of juvenile football, this is not something you should endorse. Very soon, the under 17 team will start their qualifiers into the next edition. A tournament that we virtually struggled to qualify in recent times. So why then do you take players who have failed the test in the previous under 17 team to go and represent Ghana in the under 16 tournament? And they are making it sound as if we are beating our age mates. We took a team far older than what the tournament required. So no Ghanaian should rejoice over that.
And I just want to say something before Coach.
Quickly, 20 seconds.
Based on what Coach is saying, at that age, that 1 year, that 2 years, it makes a lot of difference. It makes a lot of difference in their physical profile. We can even see players from 19 to 20, you can see the difference. And at that age, if you bring a player who's 17, 18, 19 to play against a 16-year-old,
what is that?
It's not a fair game. And you've basically wasted everyone's time. Honestly, that's the simple. You wasted everyone's time because they who needed the experience against teams their age have not gotten it.
Just I listened to Karim Zito. You know what he said? He said it is when they come to Ghana, they are now going to start grooming the new under 17. I say, whoa, mama.
There's a lot to digest. I'm sure by next week this conversation would have matured. A lot to unpack as far as it's concerned. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Susu. Thank you to our good friend from Sierra Leone. He says he's been observing the show today. He gave a quick shout out to Coach. Thank you for all of you who sent messages to us. Next week, Scorecard will be right here on your screens.